What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Social Commerce Collective. I am joined today by Sohun, the Director of Growth at Euka AI. I'll let him share some context, but context from my perspective, Euka AI, in terms of my history, was, I believe, the absolute first player in the software solution space for social commerce and TikTok Shop. They have been endorsed by TikTok. I'll see them on newsletters going out, not from their team, but like from at TikTok.com. Um, they have been a incredible platform for us scaling, managing, and understanding our affiliate marketing and channel that, frankly, without them would not be possible to building and growing these brands on the platform. We've worked with them for years now. It's been an incredible process. Our team is in the weeds of their platform all day, every day. And so all of that to say, Sohun, could you introduce a little bit of your role in the company and quick one-on-one on Euka AI beyond my glowing recommendation?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the kind words. Really appreciate it. And it's been a pleasure working with you as well. I think you were one of the first customers there on Yuka as an agency. So couldn't have done it without you as well. Um, so a little bit about Yuka and like what I do there. So growth is a very broad word, but pretty much just like how do we add revenue? How do we acquire customers and keep them within that realm, right? So involving a lot with talking to new customers, helping them succeed with the product, prospecting new customers, developing strategies for our key accounts that influence the development of new features by joining the feedback from those customers to the product team. So there's a lot of moving parts there, but essentially anything that helps grow the revenue for the company. And then, Jake did a really good TLDR on what Yuka is. It's pretty much just an end-to-end affiliate solution where you can do your research, you can outsource and outreach and reach out to the creators, and then also manage those collaborations at each stage within a CRM, and then measure the results and then test again.
Yeah, and just so we can skip a lot of the 101 of affiliate marketing, if you will, I'll just rattle off a couple bullet points to set the stage for everybody. So, TikTok Shop, if you don't know what that is, none of this will make sense, but there's other content out there for that. This is a PhD level exercise. The TikTok Shop platform is very much enabled by, to the tune of 80% of all revenue generation coming from affiliate creators in platform. Beyond just affiliate creators promoting product, it's also when you run ads in channel, 80 to 90, usually for us, 95% of the content that gets run in ads. In addition to that, it supports organic, it supports growth in other channels. And so you can look at this as like, this is the primary engine for how you grow and sell on TikTok Shop is through affiliate creators. Now, TikTok Shop, they have their own affiliate center that is inside of the seller center. That is where you can access and see all of the creators, do your outreach, review your sample requests, review your data and other things. But if you are doing all of that on a manual basis, you are, I guarantee you, not going to be able to do the level of outreach and management necessary to actually growing on the platform. For every brand, when you send a targeted plan or invite out to creator, your hit rate on that is anywhere between 1 to maybe, in the best brand scenario, we see like 5%. And so it's an insane volume problem, and it's an insane targeting problem, and it's an insane management problem, both of the relationships and the actual data that's going to fuel everything. And so Yuka is a tool that's going to allow for that automation at a scale that you're not going to be able to do on your own. And so just that as setting the stage here for the importance and value and the context of the platform. One of the questions I'd love to start with is brands that you see starting out in TikTok Shop, maybe they're also utilizing Yuka or say getting started with Yuka. What are some of the misconceptions you see from brands that are starting their TikTok Shop journey?
Yeah, so the primary misconception, and it's sort of like a fear blocker, right? Like when you say volume, brands say like, hey, yeah, volume is important, but then they're like, I'm going to make sure that the only volume I'm sending is the top 10% of affiliates, right? And so as you know from running your own agency, when you reach out to the top 10% of affiliates with $0 to show for your collaboration, you're going to have an even proportionately lower response rate than that response rate you listed above. So that's like early false growth signal. And it comes from the fact that when people look at the affiliate data, they're seeing that the top 1 to 2% of affiliates generate over 80 to 90% of the sales, right? But what they don't understand is the path to get there, right? And how many samples they had to seed, content angles they had to test, and different creator profiles to explore to get to that data distribution. And so what we do is we also show some of our clients in these categories like, hey, if we look at the percentage of affiliates that generate over 10K, it's maybe even 0.5%. And then they get very surprised by that. And then if you look at 1 to 10K, maybe it's closer to 1%. And these are brands that have seeded like 30K samples out, right? Maybe 40K. So it's very interesting to like look at the data and see how people interpret that data into their initial launch strategy there.
Yeah, and on the data component, one of the things that Yuka allows for is an extreme level of filtering in your outreach to potential creators that, as we've experienced, if used correctly, can really help you close the gap in terms of finding the right creators. A lot of times we see brands get in and they're just looking at what's the category and what's the GMV number. uh, when they see that a high GMV number, that becomes kind of an auto approve for them, but they're not looking at the other metrics that we set. So some of those other metrics, how do you recommend balancing all of that out, making sure brands aren't just looking at top line GMV, which to your point, if you're only going after creators above 100,000 GMV in the last 30 days, there's only so many of those creators on the platform. They probably already have a contract. So you're probably reaching out to Kim Kardashian to promote your beverage drink. She ain't going to reply. Um, what are some of the things you recommend in terms of like additional filters you can set?
Yeah. So one thing that's the most important thing, right? If you're allocating inventory for sampling and seeding, is your post rate filter. So you definitely want to make sure that if you're sending out a sample, there is a high likelihood someone posts it. Otherwise, you're not even able to get started. So, when you're going through your sample checklists, I recommend going through samples that you already have on hand in your affiliate center at like 70% plus, but within Yuka, putting like a 50% plus posting filter. So you're not counting your chickens before they're hatched, but you're still getting the creators that post at least one in every two samples they get. Because things do happen as a creator. This is your side hustle. You're trying to, get some jobs done on the side and maybe start your content creation journey, or maybe packages are delivered to the wrong address. So I don't recommend brands skew that up all the way to like 90% plus, right? Because you're actually eliminating some opportunities you could have with better, hungrier creators who also want to get that post rate up. And then the most important one is also just any filters around relevance, right? I find that finding relevant creators to create good content is really a core tenet in working with these creators. So using those proper category filters to find your core categories related to the products you're promoting, and then your ancillary categories to get new kinds of affiliates to create fresh content, and then making sure you're targeting by audience demographics. So it's related to the customer persona that has historically worked well, or you have a hypothesis on that's going to work well for TikTok Shop.
Yeah, and I like that you mentioned audience demographics. There's a huge fallacy, if you will, in platform where you can sort by creator filters, like a creator demographics, but a creator demographics does not always specify an audience demographic. Um, there are a lot of creators on platform that are a 25-year-old girl, but the majority of their followers might be men for other whatever reason, right? Well, I won't pretend to know. And or we see oftentimes there's older male creators and their followers are a different demographic. Like it's all across the board. So if you're not optimizing for the audience demographic, you're not actually reaching the intended audience that you want to be reaching. You're just reaching the creator demo that you signified as best. So that's a good one to optimize for. And I know we talk about the importance of the affiliate and creators to the overall ecosystem. Um, is there recommendation you have on minimum volume. Because I know we have some strong opinions on this. Uh, we know TikTok has some strong opinions that you and I have to deal with downstream, and maybe walking folks back or realigning it. Brand starting fresh, is there a general recommendation you have in terms of like, hey, get 100 products out in your first 30 days or get 200, or is there a broad recommendation you have?
Yeah, so it's interesting because I actually just walked through this on the TikTok Shop Accelerator hours. So what we're telling brands as they're ramping up from months 1, 2, and 3 is to not just start with 500 samples out the gate, right? Because those are also going to be the 500 lowest quality samples you ever receive throughout your TikTok journey as you make sales. So fundamentally, how you should think about this is the more reviews, the more sales, and the more content I get, the more likely affiliates are to request samples and products, right? And those affiliates are going to be better affiliates or affiliates with higher consideration, right? Rather than just the affiliates who need to get content because they can't. So we recommend starting with like, maybe 100, 150 samples in month one, but making sure that you're mapping out the unit economics for your sampling distribution plan, right? If you want to hit a 500 samples per month or 350 samples per month, which is what some of our top brands are doing, you need to make sure you're mapping out how much you're giving out in COGS and shipping costs and taking that away from other elements in your marketing budget. And that as you ramp up, have some sort of sensitivity analysis in play where it's like based on how we're testing content and seeing initial traction, what's the better base and worst case with revenues we can expect. I know forecasting revenue is very, very hard with affiliates, but if you use a combination of affiliate and then Spark ads or amplifying your ads with the TikTok shop format, you're able to start to get a glimpse of like which affiliate content is likely to perform well, which creator profile is working for me, and then you can seed samples in that direction, where you're seeing those insights, and then ramp up your velocity to that 350, 500 per month.
Yeah, and there's two metrics that I know our team obsesses over is sales per affiliate. So for every affiliate we approve of, how many sales do we see organically? Paid is another component that gets a little bit tricky. Um, the other metric we look at is per sample request that we approve. What is the number of videos we see from creators on that? Um, and that's a number you're going to want to be above one. Uh, to your prior point on the estimated post rate, if that's at an 80 or 90% average, let's say that plays out and it's 80%, but you're also going to have people posting twice, a third time, a fourth time. The closer you can get that to like 1.5 to 2, we've seen that be a huge impact. And one of the ways we apply that is in our messaging to creators. Now, if we weren't using Euka AI, what we would have to be doing is manually messaging every single creator we approve of a sample request, sending them the content brief, which you guys now have housed in platform that we can automate the send on, as well as giving them some sort of incentive or recommendation or, you know, uh, notifying them to maybe post a second time. We're able to automate that through the CRM tool inside of Euka AI. But uh, so one of the things we do obsess over is creator retention. So if we approve of, say, 100 sample requests, out of that bunch, maybe some will go great and maybe others won't. What percentage of those creators are we carrying over to that next month? And so for you guys, beyond recommending outreach on the CRM side of thing, I feel like that's such a missed unlock for so many brands. How do you educate your brands on that function in platform?
Yeah, so it is very tricky because, as you know, the affiliate marketing programs can be structured in so many intricate ways. And if you combine that with all the conditionals with software, it can get very, very hard to get started. So we've hard coded 4 automations into our platform where we made it very easy to just press plus a create bot, right? And the use cases are one, having a welcome message for every affiliate that joins your program. We, like you said, house that creative briefing platform. You recommend people send it out as a photo. So converting that one pager on imageresizer.com or whatever file converter you have from a PDF into a JPG, PNG, and then have a very easy to follow, not text heavy, visual representation on how to create content well. Like think of it almost as like a blueprint to give to your creator, where it's like here's the show the product that they're going to receive, right? And then maybe a sentence or two about the brand, and then show them a winning format that worked for your creator last week, and tie in that monetary visual, where it's like if you use this blueprint of incorporating this hook with these types of selling points that we've seen resonate for our customers, and then this sort of CTA, maybe these caption guidelines too have worked well in the past, right? Follow this and send it out while the sample has been approved, right? Because that's when creators are planning to create content. Sending it out once they're in the content pending stage means they have the product in hand. They planned on how to shoot that content. Maybe they have the B roll already set up too. So you can't really tell them to discard all that work they've done and then use this format, right? And then after, when the product arrives, that's when you layer in a 3-step reminder process. So we have like intelligent automated follow-ups. So if a creator doesn't respond, they can receive another follow-up within a few days after. The content pending window for TikTok shop creators is 13 days. So the first message you have that reminds them doesn't even have to be a reminder. It can just be like just letting them know that the operations team has receive word that your product has arrived at the house. Like, can you confirm? By the way, looking forward to whatever content you're going to create. Re-engage them with some excitement, and then maybe 5 to 6 days after, if they don't respond to that, try to re-engage them with the dream outcome, saying like, by the way, like really looking forward to the content you're creating. You know, one of our best creators, Jake, last week made $10,000 using this formula. Really excited to see what you create. And then at the end of that 13-day window, layering in that last message where if they don't respond to any of these messages, just saying, by the way, the window is approaching. We just want to make sure you guys don't get a violation on your account, or did the product come okay? Is everything all right? Going leaning in with empathy, because if something might have happened or they might have missed it, just checking in with them and following up with a signature where it's like dash like Sohan brand manager, right? And then after that, that's when the advanced stuff comes in, where you can automate creators who posted, thanking them, asking them for spark codes, email addresses to put into your CRM, asking them if they want to participate in your incentive program or join your community if they've made baseline level of sales, and other things like that.
Yeah. And it's so underrated because far too often, I think brands are looking at the affiliate side as just the first component in terms of like outreach and getting a product, and looking at it as a pure like financial transaction, when the far majority of these creators, this is not their full-time gig. Like they're probably working another job. They probably got other stuff going on in their life. They could be, a lot of these creators skew younger. They could be like in college and they have finals coming up, or they could be, in their 20s and they just got out of a tough relationship. And if you don't lead with empathy and you're forcing it on them, just keep in mind, like they really don't have to post with your product. Like it does ding them on the platform. Um, but like we alluded to earlier, there's still a lot of people not even filtering for the estimated post rate. They're just going to see high GMV and be like, whatever. So it's not that impactful to creators. For any creators listening though, like actually take that seriously, because if you have a high post rate, like you can get good contracts. But all of that to say, you got to realize these are just people, and if they're not excited beyond just like getting them to post, if they're not excited about it, the content itself, it's going to be prevalent when you see the end output. Like they have to be bought into that experience. You want to embrace them as much as possible in that process, so you can ideally get them into retention mode. And one of the other things that we use Euka for is analyzing video content to support what we do in the paid ads world, which I know you guys are a lot more focused on the affiliate side and don't have to worry as much about the chaos that is the TikTok ads manager. But like, for example, we have a trigger set where when we see a post from an affiliate get 5 organic sales and have a click-through rate above 5%, it's our 5 rule, we immediately want to turn on ads for that. Others will let wait. Sometimes we'll do auto enable to get ads in. We got to message them and get a Spark ad code or whatever, the ad authorization. But that's been a protocol that's been huge for us in improving our ROAS. And other things as we increase ad spend in channel. So whether the use case you speak to is on the ad side or just analytics overall, when you're looking at the video analytics tab for all your creators on the affiliate side, what are some of the things you're using the platform to find?
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. When it comes to ads, like you say, we can look at the video analytics and look at what selling points are corresponding with which videos have the highest like click-through rates, which ones have the best engagement and sales, right? So that's an indication that this sort of messaging is going to work well with our customers. And so if we boosted that up with an ad, it's a good hypothesis to test those variations in the body of the ad creative, right? Same with the hooks. We can also distill those from our platform and then look at maybe getting more effective, CPMs or like, better visibility if we have hooks that are corresponding with better views on our content that's working and then boosting them with ads. So that's definitely one way to use the video analysis within Yuka. That'd be in the My Content tab. Um, Other ways that work really well, like you were saying, is automating those triggers into a creator's ad that gets sparked. So for those who aren't familiar with like how TikTok ads work, you can actually like amplify content that's already working. But the key component is defining what is working. So like Jake was saying, 5 organic sales and a baseline click-through rate. But what if you want to spark a creator that's done a certain amount of GMV and you might not have an understanding of like what click through rate has worked for your brand historically, right? The next best thing is being like every creator over 1,000 GMV or 500 GMV, depending on your brand's distribution of sales, gets automated messaging saying, hey, we'd love to amplify your content. Something is working, and you might not understand why, but if that person is able to get 1,000 sales organic, imagine if that content was served to a lot more people. Simply put, that's a trigger you could have set up on the back end so that you don't have to manually message every creator that hits that to boost their content for ads. And we see that working well for a lot of our more advanced accounts is setting these triggers based on those definitions.
Yeah. And so I'm going to shift a little bit into your latest feature on the social listening side of thing. There's probably a better, cooler name for it, but that's how I register it. So one of the coolest, and I don't know if you're familiar with this, one of the coolest things that ever happened, this was in Facebook after the Cambridge Analytica thing, was they had to increase transparency on the platform. So one of the things they did is any brand that was advertising on the channel, they had to make a tab where you could go to their business page and see all of the ads that that brand was running on Meta, on both Facebook and Instagram. This was even before it was Meta. So I think this was like a 2018, 2019 thing. So if I wanted to know what's the best ad strategy for my shoe brand, I don't have to like think of that in a black box. I'm not going to know the data or the CPC and all the other stuff, but I can just go look at the successful brands in our category, see what they're doing, and try to reverse engineer it. And it's actually showing you the ads. So within the TikTok shop space, there are channels out there, Callow Data. I think there's a couple other, Fast Moss I know is one, that do some interesting like broad data aggregation. None of them though have your like in your login portal your data, so there's no like cross reference there. So it's kind of like it's good data, but it's kind of in its own box. And as you guys are building out social listening, I know that's been a very intriguing thing that I was going down the rabbit hole of. So I don't know how much you are in the weeds of that feature, and it's probably not the first through 10th thing that people ask joining Yuka, but I'm sure the OGs are nerding out on that. What's the vision you guys see with that new feature?
Yeah, so I think social intelligence is that's the term we call it. I want to make it a little
Good.
more or
I was
fancy,
talking
right?
to Jeremy. I was like, you should do something that isn't social listening, because social listening has a rep with social media managers as like the annoying part of the job. It's like the customer service part. So
Yeah,
I
no,
like
for
that.
for sure. It's good feedback. And we were thinking about it, and because we're AI, right, and automation driven, we want to have an intelligent way to navigate all the noise with social listening. So we arrived at social intelligence. So fundamentally, what we're excited about with that is you're doing research to uncover trends on the platform and understand the space a bit better. And then you can plug in your key insights and findings from there into your outreach and into your CRM. So think of it almost like starting outreach. And instead of being blind trying to test what's working, you have like all the insights and messaging that's working for similar products in your category to vary it into your creative briefs and outreach. So it helps brands get a lot more clarity. And what's really funny, and I didn't see this happening when we launched it. A few agencies were working with them to use it for BD. So people will go in and find competitors and do a comps analysis because we have a feature that uses like a analysis to estimate the revenue per video based on our data that we've seen in house, right? And then we're also able to extract the top hooks, selling points, insights, video formats from the creators and get to a viral content format, get to understand why the trends are happening based on an analysis of the components. So we built this product research checklist that I presented on the TSP Accelerator Hours recently, where it's like find the top brands, understand what products are working and why, what are the key selling points and messaging, where is your white space for differentiation, what are the top creators doing, what do their audiences look like, what do their content look like, bullet it out into these components, and then set up your creative test based on the patterns you're seeing there and then put together your sampling plan based on the unit economics, right? So that's one real use case where we're using social intelligence to tackle the launch program or the evaluation of the opportunity sizing for TikTok Shop. And so super excited about that and that use case there.
Yeah, and it can have such a huge impact on the marketing side. It's so applicable. It can also, we've said this for years, that the number one source of product insight is inside of TikTok. Like I think since 2020, when it became mass market during COVID, and you had guys like Curtis Roach, Ty Verdes, like all these creators like launching their own sounds and popping off. Um, it was so trend driven as a channel. It's getting back to that, not driven by sound anymore, which was one of the things we used to obsess over as an agency. And like what kind of made us famous for our work in TikTok was we were always looking at like, what is the sound that's about to take off? How do we find a way to use or lean into that? Or like with this brand, create this cut. We even did like our own custom sounds, and we did this one for PacSun that generated 8.6 billion organic impressions in 4 weeks because we like created a sound with this guy, Jo, music artist, called Get Your Jeans On. The song was called High Waisted, referring to high waisted jeans. Also in the chorus, getting high waisted with your friends. We released it and then told all these like micro creators who were known for like setting dance trends. We were like, hey, make your own dance to this song. And then we woke up like 2 days later, and in terms of hashtags on the platform, hashtag Get Your Jeans On was the number one. It was even above the Olympics. Like the Summer Olympics were going on at the same time. We were ahead of that. So this
Wow.
platform was so trend driven, and it's getting back to that with Shop. And it can be so insightful for brands, even beyond marketing. Like, for example, Dubai Chocolate. We saw that popping off late last year. I talked to that company, Chalkbox LA. Then there's another competitor now who I also know the owner of, Ashley. And so, like, not to say you're going to go launch a Dubai chocolate making company. You don't need to do that. But if you're a protein brand thinking about new ingredients to launch or flavors to launch, okay, launch the, hey, we got a new chocolate protein. It's flavored Dubai chocolate. Like you could have gotten that on the production line in December. And if you were launching that now, like in April, it would absolutely crush on the platform because it's a flavor that's gone viral. And even ingredients have gone viral on the platform. So I think like for brands, they have to stop doing product development in a black box in a boardroom. Don't even get me started with like survey research. Tools like that, social intelligence tools, that is how you figure out like what is our brand messaging? What are the things creators need to be saying? What new products should we be launching? What price point should we be at? Like you can waste all your time in like data and research that's really just surveys and secondhand, but seeing what's actually happening like in the real world through social intelligence is, I think, like the biggest unlock. And it's just a matter of time before you have like a P&G and a Unilever wake up to realize it'll take them like a half decade, but like they'll be on Yuka in 5 years from now being like, what new shampoo should we launch? Let's figure it out. Like, as opposed to what happens today.
Yeah, no, those are great points. Really appreciate the kind words. And yeah, like you said, it's so important. It just streamlines the research, like to actually do a survey to figure out what selling points, pain points, or dream outcome are being represented through a specific product's, ingredients and features. Like it'd be like so much work, but you could just have AI extracted for you based on new TikTok content that's being diffused every day. So I feel like even that can take things like varying your listing descriptions on D2C or A plus content on Amazon. Like, you could take these insights that are very fresh, raw, and like coming straight from the customer, who is also now a creator. Yeah, I just think there's so much room there, and we're looking to expand. We already have our Instagram MVP launched as well, which
Nice.
analyzes short form content there, and we're looking to expand to YouTube, other platforms like that, maybe even like Pinterest at some point, analyze images and static as well. So lots more to come there for sure.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again for your time today. The last thing I want to ask, I know we have a promo um, that I'll mention, but in terms of the horizon for you, you talk about new platform integrations. I think that'll be huge. I'm really eager to see YouTube shopping stuff, and there's some stuff I can tell you off the record there about what we've heard. But what else is on the horizon for you guys?
Yeah, so for us, like what we've realized is that it's more about content. Our founder comes from like a Douyin background. He's from China, and he's actually seeing things that are happening 2 to 3 years in advance, or where America will be headed. So he's super in touch with the strategic vision there. And so what we with social intelligence and a lot of the new things we're launching, it's about what ways to understand and replicate high performing content. Because on TikTok, what we've seen with marketing reports from like Power Digital and other industry reports is that 80% of people spend their time on discover rather than on Instagram, where they spend it on their home feeds following their communities and creators, right? So it's all about, how do I create good content? How can the creators support? So how do we uncover the elements below and diffuse more content in an effective way? Another feature we just launched and we're building on right now is contests. So gamifying the ways in which you're collaborating with your creators. And then, of course, paying them out in different models, whether it's by post, GMV, CPM based, hybrids of those, right? If you influence those into your ladder in your affiliate program, and have contests be a way to succeed and form a real partnership, it's fun, it's inclusive. It's also a better way to source creators. If you reach out to a creators and say, hey, we're giving out product and 20% on TikTok shop, versus, hey, join our contest right now for this month. If you post 5 times, we'll give you $100. Like, think about your response rate differences, right? Think about how they enter your creator program. Think about how you analyze and spark that content for ads that has been gamified, so creators feel really authentic about what they're creating, right? So we're looking at launching features like that as well, that just help with all of the content creation on platform.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we'll continue to keep in touch on all of this as this platform evolves and as we potentially see some things in like Instagram shop and YouTube shop, which I think we've all got our fingers crossed on it. Need to see consumers actually start buying things there and those platforms kind of catch up. So eager to see developments of all of that. Thank you again for your time today. I'll put a promo link down below for you to be able to try Yuka, give it a shot if you're in the TikTok shop space. And if you have any questions throughout, definitely let us know. Thank you guys.
Thanks for having me on.